here. Let's pass over. This time we will focus on the world of finance, of funding, how to use technologies in this world. Usually, we bring lectures that are mainly related with or to technologies because we are such a type of university. But of course, funding, it's an integral part of business running. If you want to have your own business that would be focused financially, if you want to use new technologies, digitization, so that the whole operation is easy, so that's the right lecture for you. I would like to welcome here Mr. Vít Endler, CEO of Fingood, who will tell us how to start. Thank you very much for the invitation. I hope my lecture will be interesting by at least half of interest that was raised by my predecessor. Let's begin because, yes, indeed, time allotted to each of us is rather limited. So let me tell you how to build up a fintech startup and how on a crowdfunding platform for entrepreneurs and small investors, we can run the business. The first part will be rather general. It can be applied to any kind of startup because it's necessary for its working properly. My presentation, I'm Vít Endler. I'm co-owner and CEO of Fingood. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an investor. I also am involved in other technology companies and startups. The company Auglio, that is a startup dealing with extended reality for retail and e-commerce business. Then another company that is rather small for the time being, we try to reach that the reading books gets into the youngest generation. It is an effort to digitize books for students and pupils of primary and secondary schools, and these are so-called obligatory authors. But since we think that our youth will not read paper books anymore, which is a pity, of course, but there are different ways how to approach it, and this is this electronic reading. Fingood is a company that can be characterized as fintech startup, which in the regulated environment has its challenges. If you imagine our operations, you will believe me that there is no way how to bypass, how to avoid regulations. So we can advise how to deal with it and how to also reach a scalability of your company. What was our reason to establish this startup? Most of technology companies are established when there is some unsatisfied need. If you find out that you need something that is not available in the market, it's good to establish your own company providing the service or this product. If you have such a spirit, if you are this longing for having a startup and a talent for it. So if small investors, for instance, want to invest but not on a stock exchange, do not want to combine different assets such as properties, shares, and other things. So we combine entrepreneurs and investors. We mainly refer to small and middle-sized enterprises that have rather limited access to funding through banks. Banks, although in their publicities support SMEs, still they do not want to support them financially because there is a high risk level. So crowdfunding replaces bank and through investors combines these two words. I put a platform in the middle because the platform is a place where money and ideas are getting together. Both parties will benefit from it. The companies want to have low costs and the investor wants to have a low risk. So at the end of the day, if those two parties get together, they are in a game of win-win. Before I describe you how to run the business, I would like to tell you very shortly what's the principle of the platform. This is an easy chart that shows you that on one hand you have a company that applies for a loan. Fingood, as the platform, makes data analysis and financial analysis. We use AI more and more, so that AI helps us to read and interpret financial statements through an interactive form in which applicant enters the data. We immediately run an analysis with all details included. We try to enlarge inputs because let alone financial figures cannot tell you so much about the startup. We like e-commerce or data-rich businesses such as restaurants. I do not mean so much our local restaurant where mainly cash is used for paying. I mean especially restaurants that using payment softwares, which show you clearly how many drinks were sold, how much money was cashed, and this gives you a rather specific or detailed picture how the business is running. Based on that, we prepare an offer to the company and to the investor with parameters of the loan and setting up the loan. There is this regulation. Crowdfunding is a licensed business by the auspices of the Czech National Bank, and I will tell you later why it's still meaningful to build such a business, even despite this regulation. There are also legal aspects such as protecting investor, the specific requirements on documentation, and these have to be met as well. So this is how the business goes. Investors get revenues from their investments. Before we start speaking about how to build up a fintech, you can find on the web platform different ideas. There is a front end and back end. You can find out in what place you are now in the queue. You can see how many active investments you have, how much money was already repaid to you, what is the money that hasn't been paid yet. So this is the web platform. Also, mobile application. This is for investors on the go, so that you do not miss any possible investments. And finally, application for entrepreneurs who can see everything, the status quo of their business, management of their financial figures, and this is definitely for entrepreneurs who are looking for funding, so that not only investors have all scoring and financial data, but also that entrepreneurs are well attainable for communication. How to build not only a fintech startup, basic principles. I started with a picture. I will get back to it several times. If you want to set up any startup, whether it's a fintech or other kind of, or you want to be the owner of a company, you must be this Swiss knife. It's a perfect device if you have scissors, if you have saw, if you have knife, if you have whatever in it, it's perfect. But if you want to cut a big log of wood, this will not help you. So you must be able of managing some things by yourself, but not into the deepest detail. For those details, you must hire experts. In general, what I think is that some ideas tend to be overestimated. I keep speaking with possible startups founders, and I often hear their ideas, and it seems to me that they overestimate their ideas. So this is, this hasn't been my own idea, this hasn't been my own principle I started the company with. So under construction of your company, you will change your principles 100 times and your idea, your initial idea as well, and still it may be successful. My friends from Canada, they wanted to sell snowboards. They had a shop in Canada, a brick and mortar shop.
Správný řešení na trhu.
And they found out that there was no solution for them. So they established their own e-commerce shop, Shopee line. So the original idea was to sell snowboards, and today they have a totally different company. So don't wait forever for a brilliant idea without doing anything. So you may miss the time, and you may find out later on that somebody else implemented your idea instead of you. So it is necessary to analyze the situation in the market and to find gaps. I mean, what is missing in the market. I originally thought that transport of people had been a solved issue, because you may phone the platform and you can get the transport. Today we use Uber or other platforms because they advance better. The user experience is better and it's faster. So often the technology may be applied into an existing service and you can build a worldwide successful company.
Today, I meet quite a few people who are 40 years old. They spent their career in corporations. They worked their way up the corporations, and today they want to build their own business, but they come with habits which are usual in corporations. So they hire a PR agency and things like that. But when you start, try to do as much as you can by yourself. Today, there are many companies in the market that are able to scan out the market and help you understand the business which you want to enter. So don't try to use the money you earn first to do things which are not as important. This is closely connected with the effectiveness of the financial management. You reach a first venture capital investment, you get $1 million or $2 million, which is a lot of money. And many businesses end here because they start to hire expensive people, expensive offices and cars, and the effectiveness of the financial management is lost. And although $1 million seem a lot, you can spend them very fast. So if you want to continue developing, even at the moment when you get in external capital, try to preserve this effective financial management. Many business people actually underestimate financial management. But let me get back to that Swiss knife. You need to have the financial management under control and work and act as a businessman. Then the team. That's really important, because either you have some founders, your friends you started out with, or you hire people. What you need to realize is that when you have a startup growing really fast, the people who started out with you will get lost on the way. This is my experience. I created my first startup in Poland. I created a branch of MALL, and when we had 150 employees, there were only 2 or 3 of the founding members left in the company. Some people simply cannot keep up with the pace, and you need to count with that, and you shouldn't be afraid of changes if you want to continue growing. Because if you want to preserve those who were with you in the beginning because you like them or whatever, you usually get much slower. It doesn't mean that you need to fire them without any remorse. You definitely need to be grateful, but you need to realize changes are necessary. I also mentioned the different stages. The first stage, that's the startup. You grow really fast, you're the founder, you know everything, you know all the people you meet in the hall. There are still dozens of people who can still work in the startup mode. Then there is a scale-up stage when you need to introduce processes because you're not able to deal with everything as a founder and you're not able to manage everything. So you need managers. And the last stage is the corporation. These are very robust structure, international management. And my idea is that startup and scale-up stages, those are conquering stages. You try to compete against the corporations, which are slow, grow slowly, and have many management levels. That's the reason why they grow so slowly. So try to stay in these first two stages as long as possible and to only get to the last stage as late as possible. And then there is another thing I'd like to highlight. The question is when you should start hiring really experienced managers. My experience is that you should try to keep away these big managers from big corporations as far away from your company as you can, because these people have habits. They would like to work in a startup. They want to have this business spirit, but they simply don't have it because after 20 years of work for a corporation, they simply don't have it anymore. There are people who worked for very interesting big startups who have this sort of experience, so that's the people you need. Growth funding, that's important too. It usually starts by you as the founder investing your own money. Then you have FFF funding, which stands for Friends, Family and Foolish People. And then there is the first angel investor and equity, and then there are venture capital rounds. And you need to realize that you as the founder need to spend a lot of time fundraising, and it's actually a full-time job. You need to address tens and hundreds of people. You'll make hundreds of presentations by the time you actually reach another fundraising round. It's really demanding as a job, and you need to count on that. So that's general information about building a startup, not just a fintech startup. Here you can see the logo, the Czech National Bank in the Czech Republic. If you need to do crowdfunding, you need a European license, but the national license is issued by the National Bank, which is the Czech National Bank in the Czech Republic. Without that, you cannot actually do any crowdfunding in Europe. We spent about 9 or 10 months preparing for this, and then we were really nervous whether we would or would not get the license. Here I really recommend hiring experts. We had a really good law office that helped us a lot. You need to create guidelines, hundreds of pages that you present to the CNB, and they approve it or not. And that's what you need as part of the licensing process. On the other hand, as founders, try to understand the problematic and talk to the lawyers. It's bad to say, this is up to lawyers, it's a legal issue. These people work for you, and you need to tell them what they are supposed to do. And they should do it the way you want it. So you definitely need to understand the stuff. You shouldn't just leave it up to lawyers. In terms of the license for crowdfunding, it is demanding, but it's not like a bank. If you follow us, you might have noticed the work of the Partners Bank and the things they needed to do to get a license. Here for crowdfunding is not as bad. The CNB will tell you the rules and the playground where you can play. For example, Revolt, that's the biggest bank in Europe in terms of the accounts, and they do it in a different way than standard banks. So even though you're licensed, you can still disrupt the market. Now, officials, that's an issue in itself. But if you're well prepared and use the right arguments, you can actually lead a discussion with them. But you need to get ready for that. Now, technology. Let me just tell you that I'm not a programmer or a developer, so I asked my colleagues to actually make these 2 slides. I don't want to go into detail about the technologies we currently use. I'd rather talk about the approach and the way we use the technology. So you can start out by hiring a technology or leasing a technology, but there are risks involved. We did realize that we couldn't avoid development, but we always developed the technology in a way allowing us to migrate the technology to a different platform. Today we use cloud technology, but we are able to transfer this to Amazon or other platforms. So we don't want to have a vendor lock, and we want to be able to move on to a better offer if there's a change in the market. There is a basic platform which we use, and the different microservices are incorporated. We try to be flexible. Our CTO says that it's not important which language you use to do the programs. We use Java or other things for front-end React and apps. But we are able to combine the things together. So we don't select developing people based on the language they use, but rather based on the things they can do. This complicated diagram simply shows our planning. All the things we think about and we develop in the business need to be transformed into the technology, and we create a technological part. So you always have a waterfall, then we have the agile management system. When I worked for MALL, we moved over to the agile system, and let me tell you, it was awful. There were ceremonies, performances, and everything slowed down. So now we use what we call for 2-week sprints. There always needs to be a business prioritization, and it all needs to fit in the system. Then there is a stage of testing, and then the release stage. And this goes on and on. But sometimes it turns out that what we have is not what we want. So we try to bring in improvements. We monitor stuff, get feedback from the market, from our business people, and we plan again, and the whole round is launched again. So it's a constant loop of development. This is our ultimate goal, and I'm using this slide to show you our ultimate goal. That's where we want to get. This is what you need to get into your business, and that's the goal of all your activities. Today, if a businessman will go to a bank to get money, let's say it's a small company with a turnover of 100 million, and that'll take months to get money. We're able to do that within weeks. But our goal is not days or weeks, but minutes. And there are technologies today which allow us to do that. So if a businessman goes to his office by car, he won't even use interactive forms. He'll talk to our assistant, and in the background there will be the scoring of the company. Today you have electronic financial statements, so you can upload them, and within 5 minutes we should be able to say whether that person is ready for funding, how much money we can get, what the parameters of the loan will be. We can conduct the analysis and simply approve the loan. So that's our ultimate goal. We also want to make apps in so well that no physical contact is needed and there is just self-care. And that's the goal of most of the apps in the market. I'm not talking about banks here, but about big fintech companies. So that's the ultimate goal we have, and we want to teach everybody in the company that that's where we are going. And I know it'll take time, but that's the goal we have. Thank you very much for your attention. I think I've been a bit too long, but if you want to try out Fingood, go use the QR code. If you put in unicorn 500, we'll put 500 to your investor account. You need to invest 5,000. There is this kind of leverage, but you can try doing that. Thank you very much. I think it really doesn't matter. You were a little bit longer than expected. There are some questions. Let me ask some. The first question. The person is asking about the biggest risks and involved in building a fintech company. And also, how do you keep your customers? Well, I think the biggest risks is between the transfer of startup to scale up.
And it's not only a problem of a fintech startup. The issue is that you have to bring in some managerial experienced people, and this may be a problem. Many startups, and when I put it into financial dimension, in Series A1, when they spend the initial investment and they haven't managed to be successful. So when the company gets transformed, this is the most risky period for it. You must add some more investment so that the company can run without the fundraiser, without the investment. And also, if you are not ready to manage your investments effectively, many startups and within 2 years, and many other startups and within 5 years. Relation with customers, how to maintain it. You must provide a good service, or rather an excellent service. If you do that, you maintain your customers. And what paid back to me, whether it was FinCommerce or in this company, what was always well-paying was to be transparent, not hiding anything. Entrepreneur, it's not a situation, everything is in green, everything is in sunlight and unicorns freely run there and back. No, it's also about situations when the entrepreneur gets into troubles. There is a loan unpaid and there are extortion activities against the entrepreneurs. So there are rules that must be obeyed, and if you fail to do that, you must be transparent about that. Crowdfunding, it's a specific discipline within entrepreneurship. How would you describe the Czech scene in this respect, and what's the competition in there? The first representative of crowdfunding was peer-to-peer. The company Zonky, people lend to people. Today it got transformed into a bank product. Zonky, original Zonky, doesn't work anymore. And then there was the company Fundlift. There were small investors starting into startups, but the valuation was very little. And when we said that the lifespan for many of such startups is up to 5 years, today we have 5 startups that got a license out of 80 that made crowdfunding before applying for the license. So today there is something between several units, several hundreds of million crowns in a year. And the companies are relatively successful if we compare it to European crowdfunding platforms. Besides several units of big crowdfunding platforms, there are rather banks funding SMEs business. The Czech company has 4 companies that can potentially be successful on the European market, and licenses entitle them to apply for it, including your license and your company. Yes, indeed. So wishing you good luck in this. I'm still interested in one more thing. You explained how you grew gradually, and that leads me to my other question. How did you get capital at the beginning? Was it through your own forces, or you used some angel investor? Fingood has 2 shareholders. I am majority shareholder. There is a minority one. I usually say I invest my labor, my work, the others should invest their money. So that was the initial agreement, but it was for a small money invested at the beginning. We speak about several dozens of million crowns, and if you imagine here you need to pay for the license, there are several million crowns it costs. You must get a technology platform you have to continuously develop, so your cost is rather high, and that brings me back to financial management efficiency. That was very important for us, and it is still. So also having good people, stock sharing option must be there, which means that if the company is successful, these shareholders will get their reward in it, while at the beginning, before it happens, they will work for a lower salary, for a lower money. You spoke about AI while processing requirements. What interests me is there's the world of investment, and can you see, where do you see the future in that involving AI? We do think about how to involve AI. Today we do it in scoring processes or in scoring evaluation processes. This is a benefit because it makes them much faster. We also use it for marketing things, also the effect of speed and higher efficiency of our work. But in the future, I think it will be mainly in evaluating data. AI can do it very quickly, treating an enormous amount of data. So the only barrier is there that you have high quality data, and you can have good inputs of data. So future algorithms will help us to make much more effectively and more quickly the scoring between risks and the benefits. So thanks to AI, we can shorten it extremely without any impact on risks or quality. I think quality would be even better. If I am a human being and have a bad night behind me, and I may not be enthusiastic completely, I may provide a result that would have a lower quality than the result brought by AI. You said you like data-rich clients. Do they like you, those clients? It depends. In case of some of them, we find out that we will not finance them. 2/3 of applicants pass through our scoring process and get the investment. And when PSD2 or PSD3 protocols, fintech can reach to the data that had been available only to banks. And If you use the data, you are very well able to evaluate the status, the condition of the company. And if you do that, you do not track the company only through balance sheet and the profit and loss sheet. You can see the development of profitability. You can see that there are revenues. And if companies are open to our approach, they will have themselves a better approach to their information as well. Do you own a Swiss knife? I have several of them. What I showed you, it could be compared to Elon Musk, who is a multi-talented person. So I have a multi-tool knife. I have different drillers, I have knife, I have different tools. Thank you very much for your answers and for the presentation itself. We are bound to finish by now. Thank you very much. And I thank you for the invitation.